Hello, sorry the last feed just went down, but luckily it went down early. So yeah, we're waiting to chat to Matty from Sheep and Wolf Clothing Brewery. So hopefully he'll join us in a moment. There we go.
Hello.
Hi Matty, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Thanks for joining me on a Monday evening.
No, you're most welcome. Thanks for having me. Nice to be
No
here.
worries. Yeah, well, no, it's how have you been doing then?
Pretty good. We just went to Brew London this weekend, so
Oh, yeah.
I've mainly been trying to rest and recover today. But yeah, we're doing pretty good. That was a pretty exciting event for us to get involved with. Quite recent after launching, but yeah, it was awesome. So yeah, we're doing well. We're excited for the future and had a few good feedback on the beers, so that was quite nice too.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah, no, I've seen lots of kind of great footage and pictures and feedback over the event, so it looks like it was a great event and yeah, fun to be part of.
Yeah, it was an amazing event. No, it was really well run. Very lucky as very new people to be stuck between a couple of breweries that helped us out. So big shout out to Budvar UK and Gorgeous Brewing who were lovely to be placed between as they kept us right on what we were doing as things went on. So that was great, and yeah, met a lot of good other people too. So that was great.
Oh, that's great to hear. Well, there's loads I want to ask you about because obviously, you know, it's a new brewery, and I've had like a bit of a scour of the website and got a bit of the background. So it'd be great to kind of dive into some of that. So can you give us a bit of a background about the breweries? I think it's had a bit of a it's stuttered a little bit with COVID and everything, but you're here and you're doing what you want to do, which is the main thing.
Yeah, so the idea started a couple of years ago. Actually, I suppose somewhat ironically, a drunken conversation in the pub with a friend of mine. We enjoyed getting beers together during our MBA and realized that kind of life was going to come back to reality again. We're no longer going to be overgrown children back at uni. And I don't want to still go to the pub, but I just can't handle the beer anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there, so like, oh, what have you got that's low and no? And I mean, this would be 2019, and the options at that point weren't great. So basically, at the end of my MBA, I wrote a business plan and pitched it for a non-alcoholic brewery. Feedback was pretty good, so I felt sort of enthused by that. So I left, found a couple of founders, and we cracked on. Unfortunately, then COVID hit, and we went our separate ways. I still believed in the brand and the kind of, I guess, mission and vision of what I was hoping to do. So I pivoted pretty quickly. I annoyed a lot of my friends at the MBA to see if they would pitch in to help, and some other mates I knew from life. So they helped come in and kind of help a bit with the workload, the business side. I rang a mate of mine who I knew from school, who I hadn't spoken to for a long time. Actually, he's a doctor, and that's John, who I suppose now is our other co-founder. And he got on board to try and help with yeast kind of experimentation primarily. So yeah, I brewed my first beer last September. John cracked into yeast experiments. We progressed from there. Delighted that John welcomed his second kid, Zach, into the world. So with us knowing that was coming, we then were able to welcome Daisy and Adam to the brew team to try and make sure we could keep producing our experiments and try and get things to launch. And yeah, on July 14th, we officially sold our first beer. And yeah, this weekend we officially made it to our first beer festival at Brew London. So yeah, been a bit of a ride so far.
Yeah, no, it's a great background, and you kind of like, I don't know, from my sort of standpoint, you kind of like snuck in the beer scene. Maybe I just look in the wrong places, but you seem to have quite a big impact. And as soon as like the beer went live, and we'll talk about the beer in a minute, it just had like a great kind of impact, and people were buying not just ones and twos tries, but like 6 and 12 packs straight off. And you know, we were a bit like, well, this is grabbing people's attention. So it's been a great launch, really has.
Thank you. No, it's really kind. We've been really lucky. I mean, not everyone's going to like us, and that's cool. I mean, obviously, it'd be nice if everyone did, but I think that's an unrealistic hope when you're working with something that's based around the taste sensors and the branding, right? But we put a lot of time and effort into both, so we think that each of our beers is quite unique. So, you know, Brew London was quite cool. I remember one lovely lady I was chatting to came along and tried Lager Day Saints, was a bit skeptical, loved it, and then proceeded to hate every single other beer we had. But that was great, though. I was like, that's amazing. It was one of our beers you love, and that's awesome. And other people loved all of them, and that's all you can hope for. And then, you know, put a lot of effort and belief into our brand and how that could work. And I think Brew London was quite a nice, I guess, culmination of that and kind of getting things going. I mean, the entire team, I guess, all the core team, as I call it, because we have a lot of people who've helped us get here. I could list them, but then that'd be a really boring live chat, I think, for you guys to listen to. I'll sit here for half an hour. But
we'll do some credits at the end.
Yeah, we'll have to have a rolling screen like Star Wars or something. Yeah, no, you know, we only actually met as a four in person on Friday. That was the first time we've all been together in person, which I think is testament to kind of how we're trying pretty hard to kind of go out with the conventions of what's been there before. Whilst obviously learning from what's been done before. There's no point in recreating what works, but there's certainly some new things I think we're trying to do. I think our best innovation to date might be Lager Day Saints. We're pretty confident. I wouldn't put this in blood writing, but I'm pretty confident that we're the only people to have put the yeast that is in this beer into beer. It's from Peru originally, and we're pretty confident the strains have been used in beer before. You know, which is kind of
Peru. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a Peruvian yeast strain. And
yeah,
now
I
it's
picked up on that on your website. So I guess a lot of time when we're looking at beers and we're describing them and what we focus on the hops, which is obviously a really key part of it. But you are kind of saying, well, what difference does the yeast make, and what can we do with the yeast? Which I think is really interesting from a taste perspective, because obviously yeast has almost been focused on from a how can we get a X amount of alcohol or just a little bit. Like so I guess we're coming out from a different angle.
Yeah, we're very focused on the yeast, even more so when we hit down to the lower alcohol levels of our beers. We'll take Lager Day Saints mainly because I'm literally drinking one right now.
At the same time.
Well, I mean, quite right. You know, that's what we're here for. But if you take the Lager Day Saints, the recipe is not completely traditional. We've got a little bit of I think it's caramel in there and melodin, but in ratio wise, it's a very traditional Hell's lager. You know, the hop schedule is nothing remotely really different to traditional brewing of this beer type. But when you add that yeast, you get kind of a floral upfront aroma. You then get hit with the kind of traditional Munich Heller's flavor. And on the back end, there's sort of like a pear aftertaste. But that floral and that pear, that's all yeast. None of that's from the kind of... you know, the hopping or from anything else we do. That is just a pure yeast input. You know, we trialed, I think, 50 different yeast strains in various guises, combinations, and all sorts to try and pick the ones we want. I think out of the 50, we ended up with about 5, which we want to take forward. Most, unfortunately, kind of failed semi-miserably. But that's part of the experiments, right? So, yeah. It's been an interesting ride, and I think, you know, we're trying very hard, especially as we get lower and lower on the ABV, to make the yeast a real key criteria of what it is we're making, to try and get as much out of each beer as we can, and try and bring that forward.
I think it's great. I think that's the really exciting thing about any kind of like new category is, you know, the angles we go with it. You know, we've done a little bit of cider making. We've got a collab cider. And, you know, one of the things in the cider board that's spoken about is maybe like a low sugar cider. And we kind of had an initial chat about it. It's pretty tough to do, near on impossible with the current technique. So you're going back and you're saying, well, where do we look at things a bit differently? And where do we do things? And I think that's a really exciting thing. You know, and I think low ABV's got the chance of being like the F1 of the car world. It could really drive innovation, not just in low ABV, but in beer production as a whole, particularly as we look at like the impact on other things like you know, climate change and everything like that, because, you know, this process is all consumes energy. What can we do that so it produces less energy and things like that? So I think it's really exciting and really, you know, kudos to you guys that you're looking at it from a different angle as well, because also you produced a great product here.
I'm glad to hear that you like it. So I think that's the main thing. Is we want everyone to sort of hopefully enjoy a few of them. We've got another one, our Easy Grinder. Very different to Lager Day Saints, a bit more bitter, a bit more citrus. That one, actually, we have plans to keep working on the yeast strain there and keep seeing if we can perfect it further and further, to be honest. It's quite exciting. And then we have our 0.5 IPA, hopefully will be out next week. It's called Small Kingdom. And again, the yeast is everything in that one. We're quite excited by that one. That yeast was another one we found, which we felt was really a bit different from our experiments and strain hunting. So, yeah, hopefully that one will come out next week, and we're really excited to see what people think of that one when it comes. It's pretty light, refreshing, hoppy, but yeah, it's all about that yeast. But we're excited. We're also excited to try the finished product. The only version I tried so far was actually unfinished as it went its way to canning. But pretty excited with how it's coming out so far.
Yeah, I think you sent a sample, didn't you? A really early sample of the wheat beer, yeah. And so we got to try that. But I guess what we're going to see is probably going to be a bit more refined things. But add the bones, I think, of a great beer there. And so I'm looking forward to seeing the finished article.
Yeah, absolutely. So the wheat one's out. That's Easy Grinder. That went down quite well. And then the IPA hopefully will be out and online next week. Is the hope of that one. We're just waiting to get it finished canning, get it into storage so we can start selling it and distributing it.
That sounds great. I've just seen a comment come up about looking forward to the IPA. I mean, yeah, sorry guys, I've been so engrossed in the conversation. I've missed questions and comments coming up. So if you've missed it, yeah, feel free to ask it and we'll do our best to answer them. Another thing I wanted to ask about was the can, because I think it's a really striking artwork. It's a really cool can. The name's like, it makes you smile as well, I think. So where's this come from?
Yeah, so the brand is a combination of things. We've got the names on our cans, so none of it's a secret, but our artwork's done by a chap called Lucas Booth, who I met when I was in Sweden. But I mean, we're taking Lager Day Saints, for example. This started as a conversation between me and a flatmate in 2019 about what we should name a non-alcoholic lager. And actually, at one point, the entire brewery is called Lager Day Saints, but we pivoted. So just to answer to Azan TUK, he just comments, this is 0.5%, this one. We basically try and focus on 2.8 and 0.5% ABV. That's kind of our range. But that's the brand. Yeah, we kind of start with this. A lot of our cans start off with me scribbling ideas down on paper and then getting that, translated into, these cans by Lucas. The original brand design for the logo, I went to them with the brand name. We had the values, the ethos, everything else. And it was three guys, John, Ole, and Lucas, really came back with kind of what is our logo now for the overall brewery. But yeah, we enjoy it, we have fun with it. We've got Lager Day Saints. We're hoping to do a Oktoberfest pack of different lagers. We have this one, if you're at Brewery London and we're lucky enough to try our 2.8 black lager. We have a 2.8 whiskey barrel aged black lager, which we've got in brewing right now to be canned. We've got a 5.1% kind of traditional Munich Hells, and we've got a 2.8 New Zealand kind of fruity lager, which we're going to try and put out as a lager pack, which we're hoping to be pretty exciting when that comes out. But the reason I bring that up is I appreciate this crowd is for alcohol free, but the reason I bring it up is the Lager Day Saints are 0.5%. Our core range 5% Munich Hells is going to be called Teutonic Knights. And if anyone knows anything about that, the Teutonic Knights were basically the German branch of the Knights Templar. So we have our little theme of cans kind of coming up in the lager world. And then it's the same with the others. Our 0.5 IPA is kind of a homage to home. So that's all about Pictish artwork and design from Scotland. And the Sioux Sith, which is kind of a legendary big dog creature that used to apparently roam the Highlands. I'm not sure if it's around anymore, but if any of you check out our brewery Instagram, you'll meet Max, who's probably my Sioux Sith at the moment. Although he's probably more bear than wolf, I think. He's a big boy at the moment.
You can probably hear my dog in the background causing havoc, I think, in the other room.
Quite right, that's what they're there for, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, an Easy Rider, the idea of that was just to try to have homage to Easy Rider, the movie. That was kind of where that artwork came from. But yeah, the whole thing, the artwork, we have like our brand design, we have very fixed colors. So we have, for the Whiskey Barrel 2.8 is coming out, again, I know it's not non-alcoholic, but a bit off topic.
Look, I think everyone, I think there's a mixture of people who kind of buy drinks from us, and some people are just looking to reduce the ABV. So I think it's great to learn about it. And I think this low space is really interesting. It's one that actually the government's looking at and deciding what to do. So I think it's really interesting to kind of see what's happening in that space.
Yeah, so I think it's exciting, and I always felt the low ones, there's a lot of great table beers, but table beers by kind of definition are quite neutral beers. The whole premise being that it's there to complement your meal. I mean, back in the day, it was what the kids drank, right? When if you want to get real old school, where table beer came from, that's why it was weaker. But we have the Whiskey Barrel Age is getting brewed at the moment, a big batch of it. So we had a small batch in London. We've got a proper batch coming in, hopefully for September. But for that label, what we did was we hired an artist out of Colombia. She's amazing. Carolina, she's fantastic, and we've got a label coming with that based on our value of community, and it's all about mental health and depression. And the reason I bring that up is it's going to be very different to what you think of as our can designs at the moment, but the colors are all fixed. So everything we've done with our labels are actually from, I think it's like 8 to 10 brand colors we have in our pack. It's very specific cues and things, so it'll be different, but if it was on the shelf, it would still fit in, if that makes any kind of sense. We're excited to bring that one out, and hopefully that can be our first step towards trying to create discussions, which again is really kind of all the brand was about, was like, how can we get people to pick up our can and start talking to their friends or to the person beside them, and try and make those connections. So yeah, we got some pretty good feedback of the cans so far, I think, which was quite exciting. I think Lager Day Saints is one of my favorites because it makes me grin every time I pick one up, if I'm honest. But yeah, Lumberjaw as well. I'm still investigating how to make custom played shirts because the tartan on it is actually ours. So yeah, I want to try and make one of them at some point if I can, but I've got no idea how to get that done. But yeah, the branding is a labour of love for sure, and we're pretty excited with how it came out so far.
Yeah, well, I guess one of the things I wanted to ask about was kind of you're injecting a theme right at the start, aren't you? With with the company launching around inclusivity and community, and I think by coincidence that's become more important than ever. I think, particularly what's happening, the lights being shone on the need for inclusivity, perhaps in the wider brewing arena. So, I guess maybe talk about a little bit about that, because I think some of your aspirations that you've kind of spoken about, I think is really admirable. I think it'd be great for people to hear about that.
Oh, yeah, lovely too. So we've got the 3 values we formed on, and these actually haven't changed. These were set long before COVID ever kind of came to the world. But we had 3, so it's inclusivity, community, and sustainability. And the hope is we're going to be inclusive from day 0. And that's actually why we try and brew the range of ABVs. So you've got the alcohol-free option at 0.5, you've got the 2.8 low session options, and we've got a few 5% coming in as well now. If that's your thing, like I have a friend of mine, only buys our 5% beer. I'm very happy he supports the business for buying the beer, but has no interest in the others. And I'm like, are you sure? He's like, no. Fair enough. So we're trying to be inclusive from the start with our product, with what we're doing with it. And we want to try and grow on that. And I guess that then kind of leads into community. So inclusivity is kind of the day 0 one. The community is our midterm goal about trying to build communities around where we end up. So we are hoping to open some premises soon to start doing some small scale brewing. Maybe in the future we can try and open, a few pubs or whatever. And we're determined to turn those into little communities that can help support the folks around them. But whatever means that might be. And I guess if you think those 2 together, basically where we're at is we have our head brewer, Adam, who will hopefully come full time with us in September. And then we're going to be looking at our next member of staff, and our plan is to try and hire someone who would be defined as being on the spectrum. So that's kind of our next step there, and try and create jobs and opportunities for people who are arguably marginalised by society at the moment, or I feel they are. And thankfully my team has let me stick to my ways. So yeah, that's kind of our ambition there, and try and build those up. I see the comment on 0.0 be more inclusive. It absolutely is, and I agree wholeheartedly. We have dreams of our beers eventually being 0.0, 2.8, and then kind of around 5%, and also being gluten free. This is on our roadmap. This is on things we want to do, but it's really hard. It's really, really hard. And I think if you're not able to try them at the moment, to Advance UK, sorry, we're not trying to exclude you. We are working on it. But for folks who have tried the non-alcoholic lagers, I think just as an example, Lager Day Saints, what we have here versus the competition is something with body, flavor, experience, aroma, and the only way we were able to do that is by letting it get to 0.5. But we've got experiments starting this month to come up with 0.0. We have some ideas for that. So it is very much on our hit list. And the long-term plan will be to be completely gluten-free and 0.0 across, well, not 0.0, I suppose, like gluten-free across the board, and be 0.0, not 0.5 is actually where I'd like us to get to. We just need to sort of get those experiments moving. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of mistakes and failures as we learn from them. And then obviously you need some money to fund that. So hence launching as we are now, with the hope that we can continue to improve and grow as we go, and go from there. And yeah, back to the last one. The last sort of value is sustainability. The reason I put that there is, our values sound quite run-of-the-mill, a bit PR-ish, but my partner works in wind energy. I'm an avid skier. I'm obsessed with the mountains. And I think the way that I see it is, we aren't sustainable at the moment. There's no point denying it, but we're going to be honest, we're going to be transparent about that, and we're going to work to be sustainable. And every step we take at the moment will be the most sustainable one we can make. So for Brew London, I will be very open and say the most painful merchandise purchase I made was our tote bags. It turns out if you buy sort of sustainable recycled tote bags, they're significantly more expensive than the other ones. So that was a learning, but you can't pick and choose when you decide to be sustainable when you're not, right? So we're trying to make the smart decisions when we get the opportunity and move forward that way with sustainability. So long term, we'd like to get there. And yeah, try and be as inclusive as we can from the start. So obviously trying 0.0 is working at some point. In terms of the comment on the different flavors, absolutely. We'd like these to be 0.0 because they're more accessible, but we have intentions of growing this range. We also have intentions of releasing limited edition small scale beers. So, if we find a small scale beer that is the beer, it's what everyone loves, we can look at trying to bring that into our core range eventually. And obviously this is all quite ambitious.
It's early days, isn't it? And I think that, you've been really brave with launching a 0.5% lager. There is plenty of brands out there which have taken an awful long time on getting to a lager, and to launch with a lager is a really brave thing to do. One of the guys who works with us, in fact, he's my best man's good friend of mine, he's a real lager fan, and actually the way that he sort of critiques the lagers as they come in, you suddenly realise that just the lager category itself is so wide in the flavour spectrum. He's right at the crisp, dry end, and then you get like hoppy ones come in, fruity ones, ones like this with a little bit of a twist, and you just think, God, just focusing on that one small area of not just the beer but the alcohol-free world and how big that is. But yeah, getting one that appeals, it's got mainstream appeal is really tough. So well done, you've done a great job on that, and I think the values are fantastic. And in a week we kind of do our best to try and reflect those as well. Whatever we've added to it is obviously being a retail store is accessibility, and we're always trying to learn about what is it that we can do to make drinks more accessible. So we've just run a month of weekend festivals, and we've learned just so much. And running a festival that's completely alcohol free, people you just forget that alcohol is ever involved in some of these situations. You get the same laughs, the same conversations. People still laughing about, maybe not doing things like tipping portaloos over and things like that, but a bit more restrained. But it's just a great environment to be in. And yeah, and it's been great to be part of that. And I think the fact that you're doing that range that's stepped, because I think the other thing that over the coming years, we're definitely going to get more literature out saying just be aware of your alcohol consumption. So if you can get people from 5% to 2.8, and then 2.8 to 0.5, and then to 0.5 to 0, I think, that's a fantastic journey and a great ladder, isn't it, to have is for part of your company there. So it's a really exciting future, and I can't wait to get my hands on the next lot of drinks.
Thanks. Yeah, no, we are really excited. It was, I mean, I'm talking more about what we'd like to do. Yeah, I need to double check the dates, but I'm pretty sure the Saturday Brew London was day 17, which means it's day 19 of operations we've been for sales. So, we're pretty enthusiastic and we're excited, and there's loads of things we'd like to do. But I mean, first job is obviously trying to create beers people love. So we can sell some beers, grow a little bit, and then try and really start trying to hopefully make a little difference here and there with the people we partner with, or in the areas where we set up, and try and build those support networks around them to help those who are near us. It's something we're pretty passionate about and determined to do, but yeah, step one is definitely make some beers people like first, because if we don't do that, I don't think it matters too much what I'd like to do in a year's time if we aren't here anymore. So yeah, that's definitely the first step, trying to get those beers out. So we're excited to get the IPA out at 0.5. Hopefully next week that'll be on mine. And then in the non-alcoholic categories, we've got our Banoffee Stout and we have our Sour. They're both in the R&D stage. Our 2.8 Stout is a chocolate cherry. That's actually ready to go, but we're probably going to win the stouts a bit later in the year. We have a 2.8 Sour that's ready to go as well. So we're going to try and release those later this year. And then we've got a couple collabs coming up, which I'm quite excited about. And those have things kind of like 0.5%. We've got a Gosa that we're going to try and bring, which will be fermented and conditioned over tequila wood to try and bring those flavors in at 0.5%. We've got, so I think next week, Adam, our head brewer, is going to have our first crack at what will be a collab with some people for a traditional Belgian Saison at 0.5%. So that's definitely going to be an interesting challenge, I think, but we have an idea of how we're going to do that. So we're excited to do that one. We have I think it's a Negroni-based kind of beer, which was a nice compliment with the cocktail brewer we're hoping to partner with as well. So, we have these beers coming out, which we're quite excited for, because hopefully they'll show what can be done by just getting outside the box a little bit. I think I'm quite sure there are many people who are smarter and better at brewing than me that could do this, but it's risky, right? And we've been quite fortunate with some of our gambles, not so much with some of our others, but that's where Lager Day came from. We scaled from 25 liters to I think it was 3,000 with a yeast that nobody used in beer before, and thankfully it came out. But that was a pretty stressful 3 weeks whilst we tried to ferment and lager at the same time, and it was that was a ride. So, that one's worked, which is great, but we've definitely had some that haven't worked out quite as we hoped. So
that's all part of the course, though, isn't it? Having things
absolutely
go wrong, and that's when you learn. So
we're excited. We're excited to bring like these new flavors and things, and then in the low category, I think for us it's about really trying to push. We're pretty proud of our whiskey barrel black lager. That one for us, I think, is quite standout at that ABV range. So we're pretty excited to try and push that one. And that should be out in September, which we're pretty excited about. That's one, if you are into alcohol, that's definitely worth, I think, exploring, because the sort of whiskey warmth and the feeling that comes on the back of a kind of crisp traditional black lager really is something to behold when it's at 2.8%. That's the thing. I think we think it's kind of comparable to some of the 6 and 7 barrel aged things you can buy, but it sits at 2.8, which is the key differentiator. And we did some tastings with people over the weekend. It was nice how many got the ABV wrong.
That is good, yeah. So just to recap then, on the 0.5 or below front, what's in the pipeline? Is it an IPA? Did you say in a
Yeah,
saison?
so we have our lager and we have our Hefeweizen.
That's it. Yeah.
Next week we should have our IPA online, and then by the end of maybe October, we should have our 0.5 Banoffee Stout. We should have our 0.5 Sour, and we should have, I think, 2 out of our 3 0.5 collabs should have been released as well. I need to double check exactly which ones. My brew team are kind of owning those at the moment, and I don't want to commit them to a date until we're happy with the R&D being completed. But yeah, we will have 3 more 0.5s this year. First one next week in our kind of core range, and then hopefully have 2, if not 3, collabs as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, we're going to need to get an order in because we've only literally got, I think, like 4 or 5 cases left of this when we quickly checked today. So this has flown out for us, and I think having it in Robin's alcohol-free beer club has been great as well. So yeah, we'll be in contact to stock up and get some of the new brews in on our site as well.
That's super exciting to hear. I'm glad people are able to enjoy it, you know, and it's nice to hear folks are buying it and maybe coming back for some more.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's been moving really well. We're really pleased with it, and yeah, it's a great tasting beer, and it's been, yeah, it's awesome to learn about the brewery and kind of the wider detail around it, and details like the yeast. I think it's really interesting, and I think the feedback and the hearts that have been flashing up and all of that on the chat, I mean, shows that it's appreciated. So you're doing a great job. So thank you.
Well, thanks for letting us blab on your channel for a bit and show off my big ginger bearded face for a bit.
No, I appreciate it. No, thanks very much. And yeah, finally the dog's gone quiet at my end as well. So so it sounds like something's working in there. But yeah, no, it's been great. And it's been great to catch up with you. And we'll have to do it again when you've got like a couple more releases and we can kind of recap where you've been, where we're at now, and where you're going again, because I think it's really exciting.
No, I'd be absolutely delighted to. No, honestly, it's been really nice to be able to connect with you, and we'd be absolutely delighted to jump on again with updates of where we're at, and and anyone watching, honestly, like we are quite new, we're quite small, so if you hit us up on Instagram, you can genuinely ask me a question. It probably will be me who answers it. So, please do feel free to reach out and say hi. I think something we really enjoy, I think everyone enjoys about the events like Brew London's getting to actually speak to people. And the one thing I kept doing throughout all the public shows was passing on business cards, being like, no, just seriously, like hit us up and ask us what's up, or drop us ideas or requests. If there's something you'd like to have done that we don't know about or can't think of, just drop us a line and stay in touch. Leaving them stalled. So yeah, if you're watching today and you got a question or anything, just reach out. I'll be around tonight, chilling.
No, that's great. No, that's great. Yeah, thanks for everyone who's joined in and asked the questions. It's been really great, and I haven't got much left, so I'll have to open the second can I got here in a minute, I think.
Quite right.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for your time tonight, Matty. Cheers.
No, thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.